Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
In this real side experience, I would find myself in the middle of an assignment or other seemingly, for it is so that as a simulation follows intent, as we place our intent, whatever it may be, all experience manifesting from the intent arranges itself in reflective accordance. In reality, everything is its instant manifestation, as everything is, that as we set intents, so we are the immediate actualization, the view of our intent placement. The creational simulators somewhat present a delay, however, from intent set to intent realized, that through the simulation of sequential cause-to-effect phases or stages, what is in reality an intent already made manifest processes through as made viewable through the consciousness-affected body forms. The real awareness, isness, reality will be the completeness of everything, whereas the creational consciousness will draw out the progress of the idea agreements and intents we establish. That should we place intent through the personal self that aligns with the real awareness, real intent of is recognition, this will be an intent already actualized in the true reality, where everything is present and everything is effected, but as we operate through the creational mechanics, so an already completed intent must be presented in the gradual processing manner that it will. But to complete the somewhat delayed creational process, this real intent of is recognition, already complete as all intents must be in reality, this intent must be held to through the personal self, and should the intent fluctuate or even be abandoned, should the individual step back into the immersion with the consciousness personal self, the now alternative little personal self intent will already be completed in isness reality terms, and the simulation that rolls out to it, already present also, will reorder itself accordingly. And so it's a case of endurance, as DUANE has referred to it as that we must somewhat complete the creational side of what must be an already completed recognition of the ears in reality, that we must hold the steady focus with the true reality, that the simulated experiential process that reflects it rolls out to its conclusion. And as we do so our real side experiences, activities, and operations will be in accordance with the real intent of ears recognition, in that they will be supportive of life, that which we all are and are a part of, that as we support life, so we are supported in our awareness through the everything equaling itself reflective principle. For in reality, as we all are this isness everything, we are supporting ourselves, as we promote and share the opportunity of the ears and the new you sound, and in essence then, as we choose not to do this, we are electing to limit all life, which includes ourselves, and this will reflect in our own circumstances, our positioning in relation to the true reality. As I said, all simulation that rolls out from intent already is complete, including the intent's actualization point, and so we really are just processing through an already completed movie, assuming we maintain the intent that has it effected, that every moment and every stage of every experience, assignment, and project that has manifested from the intent set with the ears is present in the nowness of the all ears. The personal self then will be shown glimpses, parts and pieces of our real side activities, whatever is required to really keep the personal self focused and motivated to proceed with the awareness process. And oftentimes of the everything of all of our completed assignments along the road to standing as the true beings of light we actually are, in recognition of the ears we are a part of, the personal self may not necessarily be shown the entirety of the assignments, as though we had walked into the movie theatres part way through, and perhaps exited also before the movie concludes. In this case, I would find myself flying over a natural environment setting. The exact creational location wasn't disclosed, and as I looked down over the rolling landscapes and mountains that I flew over, so what was most glaringly apparent was the large number of gargantuan body forms roaming the lands. Giants would be the reference most applicable, but then generally such a term would be applied in comparative relation, that one would only seem a giant if others also present are of a vastly diminutive stature in comparison, and so giant were these body forms in relation to myself, and they all would be humanoid in appearance. As I said, I was on assignment, my form being taken through it, the personal self not being afforded much by way of information in regards to what I was doing, impressions somewhat lacking. I would now land myself. It seemed the giants were the focus of my attentions, and I would become aware now of my own body type, which would be that of a bipedal, two-legged feline, a rather common expression of a body form operating in the simulator, and one I had assumed also here. I would be dressed seemingly in battle armour of a kind, and the moment I was operating on the ground level, so the various giants in close proximity to my position would be motivated to want to attack me. Evidently, they were of an antagonistically inclined consciousness persuasion. But as I said, it was the giants I was seeking, and as they would charge me, standing on average 50 feet or so in height by my estimation, my cat form approximately the stature of an average human, they would be unable, however, to bestow any harm upon me, as I would simply extend a fur-covered hand, and with the slightest touch, so they would each in turn collapse as they were rendered unconscious. As the decider of everything I experience, including the impact others can have upon my body form, only if the idea of the giants being able to crush me is a consciousness installed, will this be my shared experience in relation to the giants, assuming they choose to take advantage of the agreement thus provided, where they can do so, as it's always a choice. Just because we have the agreement afforded means and ability to harm or eliminate others, we don't necessarily have to carry out such actions. Evidently, I had no agreements allowing these giants to bestow harm upon my form, and as such, they were the instant reflection of their own abrasiveness, as every idea is its reflected nature in reality. In actuality, then, they induced their own unconscious states, for the simulation of effect rebuttal will express in various ways. Each of the giants now slumbering on the ground had in their possession a key. It was these keys that I sought, hence my coming to this dimensional position, aware that I would be attacked by these giants, and would be able to retrieve these keys consequently. The keys then were seemingly required as part of my assignment, perhaps not literally as they appeared to be, reminding me a little of the experience I shared recently, where I and a group were following a set of clues made available as we removed data from various robots, clues that would facilitate our continued progress to reach a location of significance. And this would have a similar sense about it, as though these giants had information in some shape or form, presenting visually as keys, that would allow further stages to unfold in whatever the assignment was being undertaken. I had all the keys seemingly I required. No more giants were in my immediate vicinity, but there would be one other individual present, a humanoid male of approximately the size of my feline form, and it seemed he had wanted access to the keys also. But unlike myself, he would be unable to repel the attacks of the giants. The giants, seemingly oblivious of the keys or information they somehow contained, and even if they were not, they were unlikely to surrender whatever the keys represented willingly. I had the sense not to make available whatever the keys represented to this individual, as he attempted to curry favour with me by showering me in praise in regards to my might at being able to nullify the giants, and I would fade from the scene. I would find myself now with a group of individuals, if this was an extension of the assignment involving the securing of the keys from the giants wasn't made apparent, but we would find ourselves in a large multi-layered labyrinthian complex. Those accompanying me all seemed to be police officers, and impressions revealed these were then the real guides, as oftentimes the guides do present as officers of the law. For the steely focus with the ears that the guides embody is a focus and determination that the police and armed forces exemplify, and is then the real side afforded representation, that of the cop and military attire the guides occasionally assume. Initially, we would be navigating through the complex of tunnels and chambers, descending gradually in a downwards direction in some vehicle or other. Were the vehicle purely symbolic, it would represent an idea that the guides were dictating the vehicle's direction, so the idea would be their conception, and that I was within the vehicle as a passenger, then I am in agreement with the idea that the vehicle represents, and an idea that makes sense with life. For the real guides always operate in life-supporting capacities. As we continued our descent, I had the impression that I had frequented this particular labyrinth before with another group, very likely those assigned to the same objective that had brought us here. That although I had no personal self-reference memory of having been in the labyrinth before, but was certain that this had been so in association with another group, very likely this was a previous experience I either had forgotten until this moment, or that had occurred and hadn't been revealed to the personal self as experience. The real awareness would have the oversight of every real side experience its personal self has been put through, irrespective of what the personal self is shown or retains in memory on waking, and so familiarity would very likely stem from this real awareness impression of what was a repeated experience. For not only had I ventured to this labyrinth before with my group, but lurking within it, very likely where the descent terminated, was a group of very powerful witches that we had confronted for whatever reasons we had for doing so, and perhaps we had failed in whatever we had hoped to achieve in regards to our attempted engaging with the witches, and here I was again, but with the best backup in the business, the real guides. At a certain point, we disengaged from the vehicle and continued on foot, continuing our downward descent to whatever we were here to accomplish, or whoever we were here to engage with, possibly the group of witches, but this was never determined. Decorating the gloomy, ill-lit chambers we proceeded through would be various depictions of demonic and dragon-like body forms, statues that adorned the walls, rather indicating the nature of this labyrinth was somewhat dubiously associated. Further statues would be placed in the centre of the chambers we were traversing through, many of which looked decidedly reptilian. Some were of dinosaur raptors, which, as I have revealed, are indeed reptilian body types operating creationally, where although some are as animal forms directly animated by real awareness, others are forms where the secondary personal free will wielding self has been established. Some of the statues were in the process of being constructed, and I would see a selection of parts scattered about that resembled more ape-like creatures. I would snap the snout off one of the dragon statues and rather attach one of the ape heads in its place. A rather blatant vandalism of this display of all things generally reptilian, much to the guide's amusement. The scene would fade again before we would complete our descent, and the reasons for our presence in the labyrinth revealed, as I said, very likely a confrontation with the powerful witches, or perhaps other beings of a similar ilk. I would now find myself in the presence of DUANE and Jeremy. We would be sat in a circle in an open countryside setting, and above us would be shining the kind of sun as presented in Ava's pictures, where the sun has no definable border. It is somewhat hazy, and as DUANE has revealed, this represents the isness reality. The softest light ever encountered, as Paul Twitchell would reveal. Really though, a true reality beyond any visual means of representing, but the sun being the best example of the essence of the is, that of simply shining in its completeness, absent of anything isolated from the whole and held to, the ideas, thoughts, attitudes, and emotions as generated through the body vehicles, etc., that we can't add to what is everything, and so unnecessary is it to generate anything when everything already is. As we sat in our circle, we would be as though our true real awareness selves, that of beings of real light, for we would each stand and become as the sun was above us, that which was representing the all is. We would be as light also, with no boundaries and no end, just an endless awareness as the true reality is. Universal positioning we all aspire to embody and embrace. As we continue through our awareness processes, we are as these beings of real awareness light now. We just must recognize this as being so, and set our intent through the personal self accordingly, that we stand as such, that we let the personal self eventually go as it fulfills its function, that of the tool by which the real awareness can recognize itself from the comparison that the personal self provides, as though the real awareness determining its nature and the true reality it is a part of, from a position that is other than the isness reality of itself. It is so that I have a long way to go, this I do recognize, and as though to emphasize the point, after a few moments of DUANE, Jeremy, and myself, standing as the isness, everything reality, beyond any simulated means of encapsulation of that which can only reference the all is, I would find myself in my consciousness representing recreated former UK house. That as the process of awareness entails a releasing of all ideas of the consciousness, that we no longer are restricted and the effects of any idea of creation, that we can stand as the beings of real awareness light we all actually are, so this is constantly represented on the real side as making continued adjustments to the consciousness representing houses, as we not only remove the clutter indicating the relinquishing attachment to the ideas of consciousness, but we also are constantly aligning the personal self-intent with the real intent of real awareness, isness recognition, a constant refinement and fine-tuning that often is indicated through refurbishments and alterations we are making to our real side houses, and this I would be doing here, as our personal self-refining and agreement facing and releasing is continuous. And there the experience would end, a somewhat fragmented affair, glimpses of assignments and objectives, but assuredly, if it is necessary for the personal self to be shown greater detail, it will be afforded. and oftentimes experiences may be truncated, as it is decision that is required for every step of activity to be taken, and perhaps there may be certain restrictions of consciousness as yet unreleased, which present as the inability for certain assignments to be completed, or at least to be shown their culmination. For until we stand completely restriction-free, we are self-limited. We are unable to stand in complete awareness and facing of everything. Awareness animates through all consciousness affecting a feature, circumstance, and situation.